All right, so we are going to do an oil change on the 2023 Pioneer 700. While it's warming up, let's go over the tools. You will need that drain pan and a funnel. You're going to need some shop rags. You'll also need some gloves. I don't have them laid out here. You're going to need your parts. So you got your oil filter, which is Honda part 15412-Kilo Echo Alpha-003. You also need a new O-ring. That is Honda part 91301-107-000. You will not need an impact gun, so ignore that. You will need a 10 millimeter, a 12 millimeter, and a 17 millimeter socket, and a socket wrench. After doing this, you do not want deep well sockets. Get your standard length socket. There's some clearance issues with the deep ones. Ignore the impact gun. You will need a torque wrench. There's torque specs for all of these bolts. A dental pick, that's going to help you get O-rings off the filter. Those are super handy. You'll need 3.1 quarts of 10W30. I'm a big Mobil 1 fan. I just happen to have this laying around. So it's probably going to be a 2-beer job. Actually, it turns out to be a 3-beer job, but we'll start with 2. If you're not referencing this video, you should also have your owner's manual. It is going to have your oil capacity and your torque specs. I'll just give those to you. So oil capacity and weight. So you got your 10W30, and it says if you're doing a oil and filter change, 3.1 quarts. If this was completely empty, it'd be 4.3. We don't need to worry about that. So that's your 3.1. I'll show you the torque specs when we get there. Not sure what page that's on. Whoa. All right, so get under your machine. There actually is plenty of clearance. You want to go to your service access panel right here. It's towards the back of the machine. You're going to see these 4 bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are 10 millimeter bolts. You're going to be able to get those out with a 10 millimeter socket wrench. I'm going to use the impact gun. You absolutely should not use an impact gun here. They're super short. There's no need for it. I was trying to be cool. Completely ignore this. All right. Now, you're just going to slide this out of the way while you're working on it. Okay, looking up from the bottom of the machine, you want to get your 17 millimeter drain bolt. It's going to be right here. Oh, hello there. Hey, I just learned you can't use a deep well socket. You don't have enough clearance in here. So I have a regular 17 millimeter socket. The deep well would not fit. Get it on here. Let's see how tight this boy is. That's not too bad. Got a nice clean brake. Get it loose enough. Whoa, it's already starting to drip. Get your pan in place. This is where gloves come in handy. That's some hot oil. Man, that's hot.
Man, that's hot.
Man, that's hot.
That oil's very clean too. This thing has, I think, 13 or 14 hours on it. The service light indicator came on at the first 100 miles. It's gonna come on at 100 miles or 20 hours, whichever comes first. But this oil is good and clean, which is good to see, but it is hot. I'll probably burn my hand and drop the drain plug in a soup of oil. Oh, hello again, friends. Pro tip, use a glove. Oil's freaking hot.
Oil's freaking hot.
Oil's freaking hot.
There we go. That's a long drain bolt. Now it does have an O-ring on it. Sure you can see that right there. It also has a crush washer on it. You want to make sure you don't lose either of those. You should replace this O-ring. I'm not going to do it this time because the machine only has 13, 14 hours on it. Next time I do an oil change here, I'll get a new O-ring as well. You're supposed to inspect this crush washer. There's nothing wrong with it, so we're going to reuse it as well. Going forward with longer oil interval changes, I probably will go ahead and replace those. It's a hot bolt. It's a long bolt. It's a clean bolt. Let's let this thing drain out. All right, guys, goofy design. Your oil fill is under your driver's seat. Great, that's easy to get to. Your oil filter is actually under your passenger seat. So here's your battery compartment with the cover pulled back. There's your battery. Your oil filter is right there. It's gonna be this 12 millimeter bolt. Now, it's gonna be messy. You're gonna pull that bolt and filter out. It's gonna slop all over these hoses and ultimately drain through that little rectangular opening right there. Okay? So what I need to do, I need to go back underneath, put the drain plug back in as long as it's finished draining, torque that to spec, come back from the top, get a 12 millimeter socket on this, pull it out, and make sure the drain pan is underneath to catch it. All right, so I'll be right back with you. Hello, friends. This is gonna turn into a 3-beer job. So we got our drain plug all cleaned off. O-ring's good, has a little bit of oil on it, which is what we want. We're gonna go ahead and get it in here, start hand tightening. No idea what happened here. My phone started recording at like a super slow speed.
but all we're doing here is torquing the drain bolt to 18 foot-pounds. So we'll fast forward to it, but that's what we're doing. Get it at 18 foot-pounds, turn it till it clicks. Ooh, I'm a torque wrench. Click, 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 click. All good.
All right, this looks like we have plenty of clearance for the deep well socket. So get that on there. Go ahead and start turning. Man, that's supposed to be torqued to 13 foot-pounds. That is definitely tighter. We'll go ahead and we'll do it. You know what? I think a non-deep well socket would have been better here as well. Lesson learned. I'll write that in my notes.
See if we burn our hand again on this. Hopefully it won't leak too much oil. Nice long oil filter bolt.
There's another O-ring we're going to need to be cognizant of the next time we change this. Again, I'm not too worried about it today because the engine has so little hours on it, but we'll want to replace this going forward. Let's pull that out. Plenty hot, burning my fingers. Get over here to clean up. Now, we got to go ahead and get this loosened up. How are we going to do that? Probably going to get a glove back on and pull it. All right, glove on. Let's see if we don't burn our fingers here. So we might need something to pry. There we go. All right. Now, you don't want to drop this spring like I almost did. That spring is important. We would have found it, but we want to have that sitting right there. Go ahead and dump the oil. That way when we start it up, it'll stink as it burns off. Set that on our rag. Go back in here, pull our filter out. No! Oh, I just dropped the washer that we need. Right there. That's okay, we get to use another tool. Add it to the tool list. Extendable magnet. There's the washer we need. Come on, come on, come on. Clink. Got it. All right, guys, this is important. This diagram is super helpful. None of the videos I watched had this here. If you drop that washer, this shows you how it goes back together. So you want to go to page 146. It actually details this entire procedure. I should have read it before I did it, but I think we can figure it out. So that spring goes on, then the washer goes underneath. So basically your spring is not resting on the rubber seal right here. You're gonna have the washer to protect it from that spring. Then that goes inside the entire case. I need to get a third beer. This is a 3-beer job, easily. So I'm gonna assemble this when I come back. All right, so here's how to build your oil filter sandwich. Get a little bit of oil on your finger, rub it on this seal, okay? Put your washer that we dropped, bink, sits right there. Take your spring, bink, sits right there. Take your oil filter, bink, turn it over, make sure that spring is seated. But wait, the O-ring, we gotta rip this off. This is where that dental pick comes in super handy. Get one from your dentist, or Duluth used to sell them. So you just, that seal was probably fine. Again, super low hours, but we wanna go ahead and put this seal on it. Oily finger, go ahead and rub it. Make sure this is well oiled. Sorry for the awful camera work, folks.
We're gonna go ahead and sit this on here. Make sure it's seated perfectly.
There we go. Make sure this little gap seats on the spring. There is our oil filter sandwich. That perfect springiness. Let's go stick her in there. Okay, that's the package you want to take over. Got your bolt in, got your O-ring placed, got your washer, your spring. Go to the machine. Get it right in that hole. There it is. Try to get the thread started on the bolt. Perfect. All right.
Use that, get it suctioned in there.
That's a 12mm. Go ahead and get it in. Get it as tight. Oh, it's still got a decent gap. See that gap where the spring's pushing out? things you do for YouTube. This is a two-handed job, but I like you guys. So hopefully we don't round off the bolt trying to impress you.
Okay, that's snug. We're gonna get our torque wrench.
All right, that's seated. There we go, baby. 13 foot-pounds. I'm hoping that's the worst of it. So we got our filter sitting in our oil fill tube. Your dipstick's right there. This almost has exactly 3.1 quarts in it. Maybe that's like 3.25. So we're gonna go ahead and pour about 3 quarts in, check the dipstick, but it should be 3.1. There's sweat. It's hot out here. Hey, guess what? If you pour too fast, it overfills. Take your time or get a smaller funnel. All right, that funnel's sitting deeper in the fill neck. We're still gonna pour extra slow, so I don't really want to deal with that overflowing.
All right, that smaller funnel did help. I would recommend not using an automotive style funnel. It's just gonna overflow and make a mess. Get one with a narrower tip and you'll be in business.
Your dipstick's right here. You do have to unscrew it. So we're gonna go ahead and check it. We probably put about 3 quarts in there, maybe a little less. Let's pull this out. Go ahead and wipe it off. Then to check your oil level on this, you're not gonna screw it back in. You're just gonna stick the dipstick in. So we'll see where we're at. Just make sure it's seated. Again, don't screw it in. See what we got. That looks pretty good. Let's clean it off. One more check. Clean. Want to be between those two lines, ideally. Seat it. Pull it back out. I think that's pretty good. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead, tighten everything up. We'll run it for, I don't know, a couple minutes. We'll go up and down the lane. We'll come back and check the oil level. All right. Get our covers back in place. All right, now we need to get this cover back in place before we go for a quick test ride. So it just slides back over, no big deal. Hey, make little finger holes for you, that's nice. Now let's get all these 10mm bolts started in here. Guys, believe it or not, these have torque specs too. These are supposed to go to 9 foot-pounds, so we have the wrench set. What I would tell you, you do not need an impact gun for this job. You do not need deep well sockets. You probably have 3/8 inch drive. All right, 9 foot-pounds on all 4 of those. Only one thing left to do. Let's go ahead, take it for a ride, come back, check the oil level. It's a really bad angle, huh? All right, you can hear it's hot, it's popping. Make sure you don't burn your fingers. Go ahead and check the oil.
Then we're going to want to reinsert the dipstick without tightening it down to make sure it's seated.
We're in the money, guys. Good job. So what did we learn? That was worse than I expected. Took longer than I expected. More snafus than I expected, but it's done. Changing the oil is super important in these. Go by the recommended maintenance schedule in your book. You're not smarter than the engineers who designed it. All in all, very doable process. What did I learn? Don't need impact sockets. Don't use deep well sockets. Have a torque wrench ready. That's it. Should be good to go for another 80 hours, something like that. All right, thanks guys.